Good morning. It's my privilege today to review with you on behalf of the Include Data Hub portal team our progress and implementation of what we think is a combinatorial modern data ecosystem with a portal endpoint for enhanced user experience in exploring and using the Include program data resources. Now, the Include portal really builds upon and leverages everything you just heard from the data management team of the Include Data Hub and implement this on behalf of end user exploration. The portal and in large part the Include Data Hub really adheres to FAIR principles and focuses on the initial prioritization of enacting findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data assets for the downstream community. And in order to advance those principles, there are additional activities that the data portal really tries to support. First off, it must support discovery knowledge creation as a non-local, information-driven, collaborative global process. The portal and resources must maximize the number of information users and improve their secure access to data and information. The portal must support and maximize a diversity of information users with varied interests, specialties, expertise on behalf of convergence research processes. It must support and maximize connectivity and community building among such users and provide for network effects across those user communities, and ultimately must prioritize frictionless flow of data and information via trusted connection, data federations, and user communities. It's through this combination of overarching FAIR principles and then these principles of operation that the portal really hopes to both accelerate the discovery and enhance the amount of discovery that the end user community can engage. The initial portal deployment focuses on cohort building activities that enhance the user community's access to data resources and data objects, as well as the discovery of biospecimens connected to that data and participants. The anchor point are really these three entities: participants, data files, and biospecimens, and I'll show this in the portal briefly. Importantly, even at this early stage, the Include Data Hub already supports a diversity of endpoint contribution into the Data Hub. Specifically, data are arriving from participant-reported endpoints, from Include program-funded cohorts, from institutional programs that have carried out Down syndrome-based research and activities, as well as existing Down syndrome consortia programs that already have their own data coordinating center and resources. And in order to support that diversity of endpoints and community, the Include Data Hub has implemented a mixed governance framework for the use and access of data within the Include Data Hub. When you first log in to the Include Data Hub, you'll immediately fill out a click-through form that essentially describe the principles and governance structure of the Included Data Hub and the requirement to adhere to those activities. And that will provide you access to the registered tier framework of all data. But within the Include Data Hub, in adherence with NIH policies for controlled access data or data that is more sensitive and includes genomic variant information, for example, the system understands and knows your dbGaP data access approval status for such data sets and can provide access to those data within the Include Data Hub resources. And lastly, and this is something we are still developing but have begun to implement in partnerships with ABCDS, is the development of federated access tier, where minimal data is available for cohort building within the Include Data Hub in ways that allows users to then take that information and interact with other external data resources managed by consortia. Cohort creation is then supported by cloud-based resources that both provide immediate access to data objects and the files for users to interact with, as well as the associated proximal computation and analytic environment and workflows and processes that the Data Hub itself uses to harmonize and integrate that data into the Data Hub, such that users can both reproduce activities from the Data Hub as well as apply those workflows on behalf of their own data in combination with Data Hub provisioned data sets. And lastly, I wanted to direct your attention to the variety of resources that the Data Hub has to support rapid onboarding, quick start guide. There's a forum where you can ask questions. You can always email us at support@includedcc.org. And even as you interact with the portal, we'd love to get your immediate feedback on any features or elements that you might need help with or are recommending. And you'll see this as part of the portal where you can take a snapshot and submit your recommendation. We'll come back to this at the end, but I'll go through a short preview of the current resources within the Data Hub, but I wanted to draw your attention to upcoming additional development and deployments that include a variant data explorer that will allow you to actually explore the rich genomic data beginning to be generated within the Include program, imaging data resources and pilot efforts, as well as additional tools to support the within portal cohort comparisons. While you can support large-scale bioinformatics analyses within Cavatica, we'll also deploy some easy-to-use tools to support cohort comparisons within the portal. So with that, I'll go ahead and thank you briefly, but turn to actual brief demo. So within the Include Data Hub, you can go to includedcc.org, and here's where you'll find many of the resources I described at the end of my presentation. But you can go to the login page of the Include Data Hub, and here log in with either Google or ID, and this will triage you into your dashboard after you have agreed to the terms and conditions and filled out the initial register tier data form. This is your own personal interaction environment for the Include Data Hub. You'll have your own saved filters and saved sets within this environment. And here under the Studies tab, you can already see the current existing studies and some metrics across what's available for each one of these studies. So for example, you'll see ABCDS largely includes participant information because this is a consortia-based study where access to the full ABCDS dataset is provided through their own consortia-based resources and a data request process. You'll also see institutional data sets like the Human Trisom project, as well as the participant provided information through DS Connect and program supported efforts from the Include program. Let me briefly go through some data exploration workflows, and you'll see some more of this in a more targeted way from Matthew in the next presentation. But as I mentioned, the exploration and cohort building activities is really anchored into participants, biospecimens, and data files, and each one of these provides you the opportunity to query across features associated with that particular entity, and then immediately intersect across these three entities in the cohort building activity. So specifically, we can begin with participant, and here all the work of the data management core in harmonizing and aligning terms across diagnosis and phenotypes can be leveraged for cohort creation. So we can begin with a brief a query, for example, celiac disease, and I can query this, and you'll see the number of subjects that have a specific match to any of these terms, as well as an additive view of terms that essentially roll up within the ontology being explored. So here you can see the application of this Mondo term, and immediately you'll see how many participants exist, how many biospecimens those participants have, and how many data files they have, and send some initial metrics across those resources via the charts and graphs below. You can also combine an additional query with this query. So here, let's use phenotypes as a queryable space. And let's, for example, review abnormality of the cardiovascular system, as an initial framework. So let's go ahead and choose this one. So here I've created 2 different queries, and in each one of these I can review separately the participant context, and as well as really review which studies have representation across these resources. For example, here you can see how many subjects or participants have annotated their particular features, for example, either celiac disease or abnormality of cardiovascular system setting within DS Connect, the Human Tarsum Project, or ABCDS. You can also then see how many biospecimens and what type of biospecimens are available, and you can further hone in on features of those biospecimens and apply additional filters that then further refine the cohort now across both participant features and biospecimen features. And likewise, add additional criteria around specific data. For example, here you can see that there are 67 files that are all within the registered tier setting. And then you can also specifically see what type of data is associated with the plasma-based biospecimen, for example, proteomic and metabolomic data, which you'll hear about from Matthew. Once you have these cohorts available, you can then select or further filter the cohort by individual. And here you can again see the differences in the access provisioning of the data. So for example, genomic data are going to be controlled access and will require you to essentially receive a dbGaP approval for accessing that data, and then for that authorization to be linked within the system. Or you can also see the registered tier data that you can immediately interact with. Now you'll see Matthew analyze data in Cavatica, but you can also, within this framework, already begin to utilize existing registered tier data by simply downloading the clinical data available for selected participants and their families, and really work with that data on your own or further explore this linkage between, for example, the cardiovascular system and celiac disease within Down syndrome setting. So with that, I hope this provides you a brief view into the resources available within the Include Data Hub. And next, you'll see Matthew really delve into the workflows, especially in the context of bioinformatics, that take the next step of leveraging the cloud for analysis. But even in the absence of taking those bioinformatic computational tools to the next level, we hope you or others begin to explore the available data within the Include Data Hub, provide us feedback, and inform future development. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your attention.